Your neighbor just told you he's paying $42,000 in taxes this year, not because he got a raise, not because he sold a business, because the IRS forced him to pull money out of his retirement account that he didn't even need. And now, half of his Social Security is getting taxed too. His Medicare premiums went up. And he's sitting there saying, I did everything right for 40 years. How did this happen? And you're thinking, wait, could that be me in a few years? My name is Richard, and I teach what schools should have taught us about money. I do obsessive research on financial psychology and why some people build wealth effortlessly while others stay stuck for decades. Make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe if this video helps you view money differently. Now, before we get into the topic, picture this. You've been retired for a few years. Life's good. You're not touching your 401k or IRA yet because you don't actually need the money right now. Social Security is covering your bills. Maybe you've got a small pension check coming in, some savings in the bank, you're comfortable. But then one day you're talking to a friend or you're reading something online and you find out that in a few years, the government is literally going to force you to start taking money out of your retirement accounts. You don't get a say in it anymore. The IRS is going to tell you, you have to pull out this exact amount this year. And we're not talking pocket change here. We're talking $20,000, $30,000, maybe $40,000 or more, whether you actually need that money to live on or not. And here's where it gets really confusing. If you end up taking out too much, you pay way more in taxes than you needed to. But if you don't take out enough, the IRS slaps you with big penalties. So you're sitting there thinking, hold on, did I miss something? Was I supposed to be planning for this? Did anyone ever actually explain this to me? But here's where things get interesting. If 2031 is the year the government starts forcing you to take money out, they call that your RMD, which is just a fancy way of saying the government's going to make you withdraw money. If that's happening in 2031, you actually have something most retirees never get. You've got time. Not 20 years, but enough time right now. We're talking 5 to 7 years to make some really smart moves that could save you tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even 100,000 or more in taxes over the rest of your life. The problem? Most people have no idea they should even be doing anything right now. They just wait, and by the time they figure it out, it's too late to fix it. So today, I'm walking you through exactly what you need to do starting this year, next year, and the years after that to set yourself up right. Let's start with the super basics. What even is an RMD? RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution. Forget the fancy words. Here's what it really means. It's the smallest amount of money the government forces you to take out of your 401k or IRA every single year once you hit a certain age. And I mean forces. You don't get to say, nah, I don't need the money this year. They don't care. They make you take it out anyway. Under the current rules, if 2031 is your first RMD year, that means you're turning 73 in 2031. And you have to take that first withdrawal by April 1st of 2032. That's the law. That's just how it works. Now, here's the thing. Once RMDs start, the IRS doesn't just say, take some money out. They actually tell you the exact dollar amount you have to take out each year. Here's how they figure it out. They look at how much money you've got sitting in your 401k or IRA. Let's say it's $500,000. Then they look at how many more years they think you're going to live based on these age tables they have. Then they do the math and tell you, okay, this year you have to pull out $30,000. Next year it might be $35,000. The year after that, $40,000. Whatever the number is, you have to take it out. And here's the kicker. That money they force you to take out, the IRS treats it like you just earned it at a job. It's taxable income. So if you pull out $30,000, you're paying income tax on that full $30,000 just like it was your salary. Now here's the real danger. It's not just that you have to take the money out. It's what happens when that RMD gets added on top of everything else you're already getting. Think about it like this. You've got Social Security coming in every month. Let's say that's $25,000 a year. Maybe you've got a pension check Another 15,000. Maybe you're doing some part-time work for extra spending money. Another 10,000. Now the government forces you to take out that $30,000 RMD. Add it all up. 25 plus 15 plus 10 plus 30, that's $80,000. But here's the problem. You might only need 50,000 to actually pay your bills and live your life. You've got this extra 30,000 you didn't even want, but now you're paying taxes on all 80,000. And when your income jumps up like that, it pushes you into a higher tax bracket. So instead of paying, say, 12% in taxes, now you're paying 22% or even 24%. You're paying a way bigger chunk to the IRS than you ever planned for. Let me show you what this looks like with real numbers. Let's say right now, in 2025, you've got $600,000 sitting in your 401k. That's your nest egg. Now, let's say your money grows at a normal pace, nothing crazy, just modest, steady growth. By 2031, that 600,000 could grow to around $800,000. Now you turn 73 in 2031. The government looks at that 800,000 and says, "Okay, you have to pull out roughly $30,000 this year." So boom, 30,000 comes out. But you're also getting Social Security's, let's say 25,000 a year, and maybe you've got a small pension or you're working part-time. That's another 15,000. Add it all up, 30 plus 25 plus 15. That's $70,000 total coming in that year. But here's the problem. You look at your actual expenses, your mortgage or rent, your groceries, your car, your bills, and you realize you only needed 50,000 to live on. So you've got this extra 20,000 you didn't even need, and guess what? You're paying taxes on all of it. That extra 20,000 basically just went straight to the IRS. So the big question is, what can you do right now while you still have control to stop that tax bomb from going off in 2031? Here's your game plan for the next 6 years. Right now, today, before RMDs start kicking in, before you might even start collecting Social Security, you're probably making less money than you have in a long time. Think about it. You're not getting a paycheck from a job anymore. You're not collecting Social Security yet. Your 401k and IRA. They're just sitting there quietly growing. You're not touching them. So if you look at your tax return, your income is probably the lowest it's been since you were in your 20s or 30s. This right here, this period we're in right now, financial planners call it your gap window. And let me tell you, this window is pure gold. It's the secret opportunity that most people completely miss because nobody ever explained it to them. Here's what you do. You voluntarily take chunks of money out of your traditional IRA or 401k, and you move it over into something called a Roth IRA. And you do this a little bit every single year. Now, when you move that money, yeah, you got to pay taxes on it that year, but here's the genius part. You're paying taxes right now while you're in a low tax bracket to avoid getting crushed with way higher taxes later when those forced RMDs start and Social Security is coming in. Let me show you exactly how this works with simple numbers. Let's say you retired at 65. You're living off some savings, maybe a small pension. Your total income this year, only $30,000. You're barely paying any taxes. Now, what if you took $20,000 out of your traditional IRA and moved it into a Roth IRA? You'd have to pay tax on that $20,000 you moved. Let's say you're in the 22% tax bracket. 22% of $20,000 is about $4,400 you're sending to the IRS. I know what you're thinking. Richard, that's a lot of money. Why would I do that? Stay with me. Now let's jump ahead to 2031. You're 73. RMDs are starting. That same 20,000, it's been growing. Now it's maybe 30,000, and the government forces you to take it out. But it's not coming out by itself. It's getting stacked on top of your Social Security check, on top of your pension. And all that income together pushes you way up into the 32% tax bracket. Now you're paying $8,000 in taxes on that same chunk of money. See the difference? You could pay $4,400 today, or you could wait and pay $8,000 later. You're saving $3,600 by doing it now instead of waiting. But here's what's really important to understand. You're not dodging the taxes. The government's going to get their money either way. There's no escaping it. You're just deciding when you hand them the check. And paying taxes at 22% today is way smarter than paying taxes at 32% in 2031. You're playing the game smart, paying when the price is low instead of when the price is high. Now, here's something critical you need to know. The tax rates we have right now, they're not permanent. They're set to expire after 2025. What that means is the law right now says tax rates are going back up in 2026 unless Congress steps in and stops it. So right now, you've got this perfect storm. Tax rates are low and your income is low. And those two things lining up at the same time might never happen again in your lifetime. That's why these next few years are so incredibly important. But okay, let's talk about something else. What about the actual money you need to live on day to day? Your groceries, your bills, your life? What happens if the stock market crashes right when you turn 73 and the government forces you to take that RMD? You need cash, but the market's down. What do? That's where something called the three bucket system saves you. Let me tell you about the absolute worst mistake you can make in retirement: getting forced to sell your stocks when the market is tanking. Here's what I mean. Let's say you own stocks that are worth $100,000, everything's good. Then the stock market crashes hard. Now those same stocks are only worth $70,000. You just lost $30,000 on paper. Now if you're forced to sell those stocks right then and there to get cash out, to meet your RMD or to pay your bills, you just made that loss permanent. You turned $70,000 into cash. That $30,000 you lost, it's gone forever. You can't get it back. But here's the thing. If you could have just left those stocks alone and waited, the market would have eventually recovered. Your stocks would have climbed back up to 100,000, maybe even more. But you couldn't wait. You needed the cash right then. So you had to sell at the worst possible time. The solution is setting up three separate buckets of money. Think of them like three different piggy banks for three different time periods. Bucket 1 is your emergency money, your safety net. This is 1 to 3 years worth of cash sitting in a regular savings account or a money market account. Money you can grab tomorrow if you need it. No selling stocks, no waiting, just cash. Bucket 2 is your middle distance money. This is bonds. Bonds are way more stable than stocks, and they don't go up and down like a roller coaster. This bucket covers you for years 3 through 10. Bucket 3 is your long-term money. This is your stocks. Money you're not planning to touch for 10 years or more. This money can handle the ups and downs because you're leaving it alone for a long time. Here's the beauty of this system. When the stock market crashes, you don't panic. You just live off buckets 1 and 2. Your cash and your bonds. You leave your stocks completely alone. They sit there. The market eventually recovers like it always does. Your stocks go back up. And you're totally fine because you never had to sell at a loss. So between now and 2031, here's how you build these buckets step by step. 2025 to 2026, focus on bucket 1. Start stashing away cash. Your goal is to save up at least 1 full year of living expenses in a high-yield savings account. So if you spend $50,000 a year, you want $50,000 sitting there in cash. 2027 to 2028. Keep building that cash bucket until you've got 2 or even 3 years of expenses saved up. So now you've got $100,000 or $150,000 in pure cash, safe, accessible, and now you also start building bucket 2. You start buying bonds that mature, that pay you back in 2030, 2031, and 2032. That way, money is coming back to you automatically each year. 2029 to 2030, this is when you make sure everything's locked in. You want at least 2 to 3 years worth of RMD money sitting in cash and short-term bonds. You're building a cushion so nothing can hurt you. Here's why all of this matters so much. Picture this really quick. It's 2029. You're 2 years away from your first RMD. And boom, the stock market crashes, drops 30%. Your $600,000 portfolio? Now it's only worth $420,000. You just lost $180,000 on paper. Now, if you didn't build those buckets, if you don't have any cash or bonds set aside, you'd be forced to sell your stocks right then at rock bottom prices just to get the cash for your RMD. You'd be locking in that massive loss, but if you built that safety bucket, if you've got cash sitting there and bonds paying you back, you can cover your entire RMD without touching your stocks. Your stocks just sit there untouched. The market recovers over the next year or two. Your stocks climb back up, and you didn't lose a single penny because you never had to sell. So here's your step by step action plan. You've got 6 years to get ready. That's 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2030. Let me break down what you do each year. Years 1 and 2, that's 2025 and 2026. First thing, go online and Google RMD calculator. They're free. Plug in how much you've got in your IRA right now and your age. It'll tell you what your RMD is going to be in 2031. Write that number down. Now you know what you're dealing with. Then, start moving money from your traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. Move about 20 to 30,000 each year. Make sure you're staying in the 22% or 24% tax bracket. Don't go higher than that. You're building a habit here. Do it year 1 and do it year 2. Mandatory. Years 3 and 4, that's 2027 and 2028. Keep doing those Roth conversions every year. That's ongoing. But now you're also doing something new. You're starting to stack cash. Put away $10,000 to $20,000 every year into a high-yield savings account. One of those online banks that actually pays you some interest. You're building your safety bucket. And you're also starting to buy bonds. Bonds that mature, that pay you back, starting in 2030, 2031, 2032. You're setting up your future income stream. Years 5 and 6. That's 2029 and 2030. This is crunch time. Make absolutely sure you've got at least 2 to 3 full years worth of RMD money sitting in cash and short-term bonds. You want that cushion locked in, and if you haven't started taking Social Security yet, now's the time to think about when you're going to start it. You don't want Social Security, your RMDs, and everything else all starting at the exact same time and blowing up your taxes. Spread things out smart. Here's what this whole thing looks like in real life. Let's say you're 67 years old right now in 2025. You've got $600,000 sitting in your IRA. You go online, find a free RMD calculator, and plug in your numbers. It tells you your first RMD in 2031 is going to be around $30,000. Okay, now you know. So here's what you do. Every single year from 2025 to 2030, that's 6 years, you move $20,000 to $30,000 from your traditional IRA over to a Roth IRA. You do this 6 times. By 2030, you've moved $150,000 into that Roth. That's $150,000 that'll never have an RMD. That's tax-free money now. And because you moved it out, your traditional IRA balance is way smaller, which means when 2031 hits, your RMD is way smaller too. And while you're doing all that, you're also putting $10,000 a year into a savings account. Do that for 6 years. That's $60,000 in cash sitting there safe, and you've been buying bonds that pay you back starting in 2031. So when 2031 finally rolls around and that first RMD hits, it's not a shock. You're not freaking out. You're not scrambling. It's all planned out. It's all funded. You've got cash. You've got bonds. Your RMD is smaller than it would have been. Your taxes are totally manageable. You're in complete control. The biggest mistake people make is saying, I'll deal with this later. I've got time. But here's the truth. Later is too late. Once you turn 73 and those RMDs start, the door slams shut. You can't move money to a Roth anymore. The government's forcing it out and you're paying full taxes on it. The window you have right now, these next few years, this is your only shot to change your tax future. If you miss it, you're stuck. You're stuck paying whatever massive tax bill the IRS decides to hand you. And there's nothing you can do about it at that point. Now, if you're already 70 years old and you're thinking, oh no, Richard, I already missed the window. It's too late for me. Don't panic. You can still do things. You can still build those cash and bond buckets so you're not forced to sell stocks in a crash. You can still use those QCDs, those charitable donations straight from your IRA to lower your taxes. You can still be smart about which account you pull money from. It's not the perfect situation, but it's 1,000 times better than throwing your hands up and doing nothing. Look, if your first RMD is in 2031, you're not completely out of time, but you're also not lounging around with all the time in the world either. You've got a window. It's open right now, but it's closing. The moves you make or don't make in the next 5 to 6 years will literally determine whether you spend your 70s and 80s constantly stressed out about taxes and money, or whether you've got a rock solid plan that just works year after year, no matter what happens. If this video helped you finally understand what RMDs are and what you need to do about them, do me a favor. Hit that like button down below and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you want me to go even deeper on Roth conversions or how to build these buckets step by step, I've got more videos on the channel that walk you through everything. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.